Yeah.
Let's win our streak of clean entrances, but it's okay. Because it's number 50. That's right.
Yeah.
Welcome to On the Back Hash.
Boy.
Episode number 50, where we talk about the things that happen
Sheesh.
Saturday, but probably we'll talk about the dumb people who are saying dumb stuff about stuff.
Yeah. All that.
Yes,
stuff.
exactly. 100%
Oh, man.
what you just said.
My name is
Foolishness.
Cedric, and I'm here as per usual with Zach, William, and Chris. After a wonderful, wonderful DCI finals night. Bravo to everybody. A round of applause.
Mm-hmm.
Round of applause.
Whole circle.
To
Seal
all
of
that
approval.
Yeah, it was.
Oh my gosh.
It was. We can tell we've all been trained in Kagan. Will's like, what? You don't want to know, man.
No.
Couldn't at all.
You don't want to know.
Here, I'm going to do one with you. I'm going to do one with you real quick.
I don't
Okay.
know.
Here we go. All right.
Oh, God.
Do you know?
The
The Muffin Man?
Sort of.
We'll do that. Do you know who the Muffin Man is? No, wait. Hold. Will, do you know who the Muffin Man is?
It's not a trick question.
No.
Okay.
I was doing wait time. That's Kagan.
Oh god.
We're also going to do a quiz trade.
Oh, geez.
Okay. Yep.
All right, so back to DCI.
It's like,
We can do it. Yeah, Zach's like, I'm done. No.
and I'm out.
We can.
I will never get those 36 hours of my life back.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm just saying.
It was 36 hours. Oh, no. Oh,
Straight up.
that's a day.
Mm-hmm.
And a
It just
half
sunk in.
of our lives that we spent
It just
talking.
sunk in.
See, we need an educational
Segment.
spin-off or something. Anyway, so yeah, let's talk about DCI.
In the back row.
In the back row.
Mhm.
In the classroom. I don't
On
know.
the hash.
Well, that can mean something completely different. So finals week was fantastic. Last night was awesome. We're going to kind of talk about what we noticed. Me and Chris was there live. We were second row, got our faces blown off. It was great. I just glued mine back together for the podcast today.
I had a headache this morning. I had to get rid of it.
We did have a headache this morning.
Yeah.
And then Chris and Zach and Will watched it from home. So they had that good cushiony seat and good free snacks. They didn't have to spend $27 in concessions.
Listen. Target has some gems
I bet they do.
for snacks. Sneaky snacks.
Sneaky snacks.
I did pick up this sweet BDC Safari shirt.
Yeah, you
Let's
did.
go. Let's go.
I was
As soon as I saw that, I said they have a BDC shirt. He's like, I'm getting it right now.
I was like, and done. So I also picked up a nice Madison shirt too. It was pretty cool looking.
Son.
So yeah, I was all about that. I wanted a blue coat shirt, but I also did not want to wait 17 hours. in
Dude.
Oh
line.
my god.
The line for
Every
Probably
year.
outside.
No, for them, Phantom and Boston. Boston and Phantom's lines like merged together, and so it's like a glob of people. It was
Oh my
insane
gosh.
how many people were trying to get those shirts.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts.
I'm really sad I didn't get to go. I was gonna get a Mandarin shirt.
You should have told me. I could have picked
I know,
one
I
up.
forgot.
There was no line. We did get your Crossman shirt though.
For the second time now, we are now band of 3.
Oh man.
That's hilarious. All the way out.
See, I don't think he's going to be back.
And Mike. Where's his drink?
Yeah, he's going to drinking his tea now.
we
He probably yelled some obscenities. That's probably why he went off. And he had to drink the water.
have to make up the audience. This is us normally. Like we've been nice typically, but like this is what would have happened on the trip but we weren't together on the trip, so now we're getting it out now. So sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
It's
is
a
probably gonna be
4-hour
either.
car ride's worth of
Yeah,
nonsense.
yeah. It's whew,
Life be doing life things, man.
life to
Hmm.
be doing life things, but you know what? It is what it is. We deal with it, and we did get together a little bit last night,
Yeah.
so it was pretty cool too. I say last night. This is air on Wednesday, so Saturday night. But anyway, all right. So let's get into it. I'm going to run down the top 12, and then I think just mainly we can talk about what happened between the two tiers a little bit as far as scores. I know we talked about what our thoughts were a little bit. Um, Most of this will kind of be a little bit analytical. Today, just kind of looking at the numbers to see kind of what happened and why. And then if we have any extra time, we'll kind of get into some more details about some other stuff. So just kind of running it down, our finish in 12th place. My phone is doing phone stuff. So 12th place is Blue Knights with an 86.375. Blue Stars 88.625 in 11th, and 10th was Troopers 89.475. Breaking 90s for the first time. Well, not the first time, but because they broke it in semis, but they broke 90 twice. Colts in ninth place with a 90.263.
Let's go.
Yeah, Cavaliers in 8th place, and your Sanford winner with a 92.125, finishing 8th. Phantom Regiment 7th with a 92.988. Mandarins 6th with a 93.775. They made history for their core. I think this is their high score ever. Cadets 5th, 94.315. In 4th place, Boston Crusaders with a 96.925. Your bronze medalist was Carolina Crab with a 97.663. Your silver medalist for the third time in a row, Blue Coats with a 97.738. And for the first time ever, the Blue Devils, for their first time ever, clarify that, with a three-peat winning goal with a 98.975.
When that score was announced in the stadium, oh man, everyone's like, "Oh," because it was close. They almost did it.
Well, I put in the chat. I said if they break if second place, whoever it was, because I literally didn't know who it was going to be, broke 98, then they would have broke the record. They would have broke the record. But they scores just kind of didn't get pushed all the way up like I thought they might would. So do we want to talk about the 2 through 4 chunk first, or do we want to go through the 5 through 8 chunk?
Doesn't matter to me.
Bottom to top.
Bottom to top?
Yeah.
All right. So I think everybody 8 and down were kind of solidified in. I think all of that stuff was kind of locked in. Cavi's almost
not 9 down there. I'll say 8. Cavi's almost
caught Phantom.
Yeah.
But just a little bit too much of a gap for them. So the real battle ended up being between 5, 6, and 7 between Cadets, Mandarins, and Phantom. So to kind of see how that shook, if we look at GE, Cadets was 5th in GE with a 37.7. Mandarins 37.5 in GE, and Phantom 37.25 in GE. So lots of 5s and 6s for Cadets and Mandarins. Phantom kind of hung in the 7. They had a couple of 6s. But I think that landed about right. I would not have been shocked if Mandarins would have took GE for that tier. Just because they have a swag about them.
Mm-hmm.
And that showed us kind of just.
I mentioned this in the live react, but that's the first time I ever noticed those quotes for the Cadets. I don't know if when they added those in or what, but I really think that helped their GE. I think it made people like, oh, okay, I see what they're trying to do with this. I think that kind of helped drive a little bit of their GE score up.
I'm kind of like Zach. I feel like I did hear it before finals.
I'm sure you have. I don't. Last time I saw them was at. Were they at Atlanta? I don't think they were at Atlanta. Were they? Yeah, they were. I think they were. I can't remember. But they did not have the quotes then. So that's the last time I got to see them perform. So they might have added it in Allentown or somewhere there. But I don't remember the last time I saw it. So
yeah, if they added them that late, man, that's kind of risky to add quotes that late.
Man, sometimes
I could be completely wrong too.
I mean, if you think you kind of hurting a little bit,
yeah, you gotta find something.
Well, remember the year they did Power of 10? They got new uniforms at Allentown.
Yeah,
those black ones, whatever
Mm-hmm.
they had. Yeah,
They went all season with their other ones, and then went to the black ones at Allentown,
which was interesting. So cadets take GE, and then overall visual, it went 5, 6, 7 for that. Cadets, but it was super close between cadets and Manners, 28.15 to 28.125, and then a couple of tenths behind was Phantom with a 27.150.
Mandarin's guard hurt them.
Mandarin's guard hurt them, and cadets guard helped them a whole lot.
Yeah.
4 tenths between those two guards there. Even though cadets did finish 7th in, I think that's analysis proficiency. Sorry. So, which I mean, they are moving really fast. So maybe just the quickness of the movement caused some foot timing issues for proficiency, and maybe. But they were flying. Content didn't hurt them, but achievement kind of knocked them down a little bit. So that's that's visual. And then in music, you had cadets solidly 5th, 28.463. Manners was actually 7th in music with a 28.150. And Phantom was 8th in music with a 27.7.
Their percussion.
Percussion ended up finishing 9th. They were 10th in achievement.
Jeez.
That was Mandarins or Phantom?
Phantom.
Gotcha. Okay.
Phantom. Mandarins was pretty consistent across the board. 6s, 1, 7, and by one of their music analysis judges, and then 7.
Well, I know in Murfreesboro, Zach and I were sitting beside each other, and I remember turning to him when Phantom was playing. I said, "Those basses are dirty," and they were struggling. And if I'm noticing that stuff, it's no bueno.
Yeah. So with your overall, cadets took it, and I looked at Chris after their first opening lick, and I said, I've never heard that before, and that was clean. I said, that's why they're sitting 5th. They will beat Mandarins tonight. Because it was there. I heard more stuff from them than I did any other corps. Their whole front half of that closer is just double tonguing, triple tonguing, triplet runs by everybody, just all running together. Like, they did a show called Atlas, and that section of the show was athletics is all get out. Like, I was just like, okay. It's like they wanted it, because I was worried at the Mandarins, because Mandarins threw down.
Mm-hmm.
Mandarins threw down. I don't know if it translated over online or not, but in person I was here for it. So that's kind of how your 5, 6, 7 fell out with that tier. So, I got any extra thoughts about that particular meeting?
I just felt where did cadets finish brass wise?
Brass cadets were
5th.
5th.
Okay. So what I was going to say is that it had some.
There was a gap.
Yeah, I'm sure there was. I mean, it's Boston up there, but like I don't want to say this and people think that I'm saying that they are this group, because they're not. But they have some really good moments that are Crown-like in that show.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were talking about, said just like the athletically or the difficulty of the the brass book. And I think that's what elevated them over the Mandarins. The Mandarin show is, whew, is it good? And man, is it good live? Because that's the first time I got to see it in person, and it was good. But like when cadets came on, it was just like a different. You could just tell it was a step up. Like it was hard, but they were finesse with it and light on it, and that show grew on me the more I watched it. I think a lot of people like disregarded it when they saw their uniforms and kind of like about it.
Yeah.
But they put in that work, and it benefited them this year. So
It was an ode to the old cadets. It reminded me of like the old running the gun cadets, which I like to watch. Really cool drill, really cool music. It sounded like Jay Book did that arrangement again, and I really like how he does stuff. So, all right, we'll talk about this top stuff. Even though they've blown out, we will include BD in the top, in that top tier discussion, because there were some captions that they did not win.
Mm-hmm.
Sub captions as well. So overall general effect, which is kind of what took them over the top. Really, that's the bulk of their spread. Blue Devils was first with a 39.675. Carolina Crown was second with a 39.1. Blue Coats was third with a 39.075. And Boston was fourth with a 38.625. Just kind of looking, one judge had Crown winning GE. Another one had BD with a perfect score.
See, but I'm looking at everything around it, and I think what happened with that judge was they liked Boston and gave them their number, and they gave them a big gap after cadets. Then right after that, Crown, okay, not quite there, but just a tenth under, and then they put a gap for Blue Coats and left no room to put BD. So it's like, well, I'll give him the perfect score this time, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know, but
he probably figured that 10th wouldn't make a difference, and it didn't in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, when he popped, go ahead.
When you're flirting with something that no one thinks should be broken, like I know that's not how you judge, but like when you throw a couple perfect scores in there, you're getting to that point where you're flirting with that barrier, which is worrisome because we'll talk about it here in a second. But they did it again in another caption. So, right, well, I think, yeah.
Well, with that, I mean, he left room. He could have used a half a point. He could have went 19.95.
That's what I was saying.
He could have did that if you know. But he just thought that's what that needed to be, because I mean, we all know kind of how I feel about Blue Coat show, but that number's probably, for me, that's where that probably should have been. But yeah, so another judge had BD first, and then the other two judges both had BD first. Gave him a 10 out of 10 in rep, but did not max him out in performance. So just big numbers.
I am fine with that. That stuff I'm okay with. Like what they're doing, like if their content is perfect, that's great. But I don't know.
So I'm trying to see. I guess it was that fourth judge a little bit. They kind of, because Crown and Blue Coats were tight in there.
Mm-hmm.
Most judges had Boston fourth, except for one had him third, which was weird because he had him third and he had Crown fourth. So I don't know, but they
said big fabric.
I guess so. That whale-tail got him.
The whale won.
So for visual, actually, this is where most of the points came from for beating. Good lord. Visual, not crown. Good lord. BDE was first in visual with a 29.825. Bluecoats was second with a 29.450. Boston was third with a 29.2, and Carolina Crown was fourth with a 29.1. So if you're kind of looking at the overall recap, this is why Bluecoats ended up beating Crown, was the visual caption.
It was their guard. Crown's guard kind of hurting a little bit, and especially when you compare them to Boston, they split captions.
Yeah.
The guard was the difference.
I don't know if it was just the guard. I think
It
it's the
wasn't
whole
just
caption.
guard.
It's the whole thing.
Those numbers were a little bit tight.
Like across the board.
No, but I'm saying
If
when you
anything,
look
the
at
visual
just
analysis.
Crown, but when you look at just Crown and Boston, they flip-flop scores in proficiency and analysis, the exact same score overall. So the difference between visually Boston and Crown, it came down to guard. Because they tied from the two visual judges with the same score.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
Well, for them two, yes. I was just making the comparison to Bluecoat since Crown was.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't saying that.
Yeah.
I wasn't like blaming Crown's guard on them getting fourth.
No. Yeah, because I think a lot of people would have thought, just playing wise, that and people, you hear a lot of people talking about just like the whole visual package. Because honestly, this year that was the thing that changed the game. I think music landed about where people thought it would, but what visual packages people were putting out there kind of changed it. And I could be wrong, so I don't care to be corrected. But to me, proficiency means the technique of things and the demand of like what's being asked of you to do from like a market standpoint, as far as like technique. And visual analysis is like the composition of the package, the visual package, or the design of the visual package. And this is where people's mind kind of go in different areas here. What do Blue Coats and Blue Devils do visually that Boston and Carolina Crown isn't doing? Like I'm asking. Like I have my thoughts.
That's what I was going to say. What Will just said.
What did he say?
Not a body work with the horn line.
It's a lot more dance.
This number,
which in turn, if you think about it, is just as difficult as just doing drill.
Oh, I'd say
if you think you're a dancer, I implore you to go try to make 80 plus some people do the same thing, and then come back.
Same exact way.
Come back to me and tell me that ain't hard.
I would much rather teach fundamentals than Dottie anytime.
And
clean it at least.
And they're dancing and playing at the same time. They're going to be marching and playing.
Yeah,
they're doing dance type maneuvers and marching at the same time, which one could argue is more difficult than this marching and playing. So like, I'm going to kind of foreshadow this a little bit, but you're starting to see almost two different types of shows now. And I'll leave it at that for now. But from a visual analysis standpoint, there's more to look at. There's more to judge from a design standpoint, and to get right and or wrong for Blue Coats and Blue Devils than it is for Boston and Crown. And I think that's why you see that gap there.
I agree with that.
This is where I start to think that like it's always been intertwined together, but I think this is where GE and visual starting to bleed together in the activity. Like visually, you know, I don't know. It just feels like this is starting to bleed together. Those two captions, which is not a bad thing, I don't think, but I think this is where, and when you get a show like Blue Devils and Blue Coats,
because it's a. I was gonna say, you mean because it's a dance?
Yeah,
because now you're going.
It's the effectiveness, how the body shows effectiveness. Like it's not. I don't know. It's kind of hard to like.
GE should
see. I don't think they're.
We're probably gonna say the same thing. GE doesn't. GE is all about the overall package, about the composition of how well the music and the visual work together.
But that's what
like even when you're judging, even when you're judging visual effect, like our state has a visual effect caption. The music plays a role in how the visual program should be written. So like, and vice versa. So like,
well, what I'm saying is that I think what makes Blue Devils and Blue Coats more effective is that most of their visual is dance oriented.
I don't think that's it. I think it's how they use it. It's not that they dance; it's how they use it. Like, well, not a lot of groups dance like they do, but
that's where I was what you're kind of alluding to, like the two different types of show. That's what I'm thinking. Like in my mind, like
no, that illusion was Boston and Crown are what traditionalists like, as far as just like you march and you play, and that's where your effect comes from.
But that's what
Blue Devils and Blue Coats are putting on a show.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm saying. Like where I feel like those shows are doing better because they're doing like, I don't know, it's kind of, that sounds ridiculous what I'm saying, I guess. In my head, I just can't really put it out there. But like the dance portion of things, when that's most of your visual package, it's going to be more effective than a drill set. Do you see what I mean? I think in my head.
I think I understand that part, that line a little bit. For me though, at the same time, I think that's why it's considered visual, because even if it's a dance or whatever, you like go color guard. It's the same thing. If you're doing any kind of dance move, I don't care what it is, something simple as a rondajan or whatever, they're going to be looking for these toes. They're looking for these legs. They're looking for this arm bend. Is your arm like this, or is your arm completely straight? Those little things matter, because that's going to take away from that moment. That's why I say, if you think movements like that is easy to do, I implore you to go teach a group that big and do it, and then come back and tell me. Yeah. So that stuff is, it's if anything, you're talking about, I don't want to, I won't say like box 6, but you're talking about setting a new standard, basically.
Yeah. The visual caption, dance is just another vocabulary. Like it's another exemplar. Is that the word? Or compulsory. Exemplary? There we go. That's the word. Compulsory. It's another skill that you don't have to do, but if you do it and you do it well, you get credit for it.
Exactly. So and that's like with everything.
Yeah.
It's the same old saying. If you write it, it better be clean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, yes, it is a part of what GE is, but like, I don't think that weighs heavy into GE, because if that was the point, then Blue Coats would have been much further ahead in GE, because Crown don't do all of that. Crown and Boston don't do all of that. They do some.
I understand.
They do some. They don't. But not to the extent. Like they don't have like a dance block where everybody's just doing this.
But they do have a lot of, when they stand there and playing, they are still underneath all that stuff happening. So like, I mean, dance and body, I guess, can go interchangeable there as well.
And all of that it's the use of dance to portray what's happening musically. Like anything that they do with the body is supposed to be accentuating the music, and that's where the effect comes from. So like, what it's doing for the music is why it's effect, but the technique behind it, that's what goes into the visual part of it. That's why I think that's one reason why they kind of got away from music effect and general effect and just made it one effect capture, which that's a discussion on its own with some people, because some people say it should go back to that. I'm indifferent. I don't have a hill to die on for that. So, but another perfect score in proficiency for Blue Devils. And if you remember earlier in the season, that content to achievement score had some big gaps in it.
Mm-hmm.
So a Hoover vac or a mop or a Swiffer mop or something got to that because it cleaned up right when it needed to. And cleaned up right.
That's why I tell people, man, y'all got to stop commenting on BD in the beginning of the season. It ain't gonna look nothing like it. You can cry, you can raise hell all you want, but come finals, here come the magic.
Here's another thing you can kind of look at too. Crown's visual proficiency score, 9.6 in content, but 9.9 in achievement. What does that tell you?
Wasn't hard enough.
Wasn't hard enough. I mean,
or they didn't have enough variety in their content.
And I think that's more so it. Mm-hmm. I think more so of that's what it is. Just the lack of variety, maybe that's in it.
Because it's rough when you do character storytelling.
You box yourself in.
You do. It's rough.
And with that particular show, and that's the thing, their show didn't lend themselves to do as much.
Mm-hmm. Because when you focalize stuff like that, like Boston did as well, because for me, Blue Coat's story told, but that boy is wide open. Like it's almost unlimited. Mm-hmm. So those are two good examples of storytelling. One with a main character and one that's not so directed towards one certain thing that you have to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
Like Blue Devils are kind of giving you a lesson. A lot of their shows are just like lessons. Like we're gonna talk about Matisse and how he did cutouts, and here's our interpretation of what that would look like if this was a marching band field. So they're telling a story, but they're more like giving you a lesson in this, and they do that a lot. Fellini-esque was a lesson in filmmaking. You know, The Ghost Light was the story of being a performer, but you don't have to focalize one person or one area to tell those things. Blue Devils do that really well. Blue Coats told you a story. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say they also pick things that aren't literal. Mm-hmm. Like interpretation is a big part of what they do. So, like, you know, a lot of people in the stands or on watching Flow are not gonna have the same interpretation as, say, you watching Crown or you're watching Boston, and you kind of know it's a more literal translation interpretation.
And Blue Coats do that too. You know, like, well, last year that story, they told the story of, you know, the guy, but you were the guy. Like, they put you in the story. Mm-hmm. They with set design and musical submission, they bring you along with it. So, like, it's not meant for you to just tangibly know what's going on. Like, that shows your interpretation of whatever it wants to be. So that stuff's kind of different, and like it's kind of getting credit because they're not boxing themselves in. They can interpret those things any way that they want, and it doesn't box them in. And that's, you know, Blue Devils is playing 3D chess. You know, Blue Coats are playing chess, and then, you know, everybody else is still kind of playing checkers. It's just some of them are just really good at it.
Because concepts and ideas like that, like what BD and Blue Coats did, it leaves it so. To me, if I was a writer, I would feel so much better as a writer, because you almost can just do what you want without it being having to be so focalized, or I don't want to say without it having to make sense, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
like,
no. We see it all the time in indoor.
Yeah, exactly.
See it all the time in indoor.
So
So obviously BD takes the visual proficiency award overall for the week, and then also they take guard with a perfect score in content, 19.9 or 9.9 in achievement. So BD racking up as usual. Music, yeah, some different stuff here, but overall, BD took music 29.475. This was a lot closer. So it's not necessarily that BD is just outplaying everybody; they're just out designing everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And visually stunning stuff too. Carolina Crown was second in music, 29.465. Blue Coats were third, which was 29.213, and Boston was fourth for 29.1. Music, brass, Crown won brass that night, as well as the Jim Otter Award. Got a perfect score in achievement, 9.9 contact. They were actually second in contact. I don't know.
Who was that? Crown?
Crown. They were second in content. I don't know if I agree with that, but I think they probably should have won content too.
Send that score to a judge.
So, but they still won brass overall. Their achievement score was pretty hot. Blue Coast was actually second in achievement for brass. They were right behind Blue Devils in brass. And then musical analysis, BD took one of them and Crown took the other one. And then Boston and Blue Coats flip-flopped for third and fourth. And then percussion went 2, 3, 4, 5. Blue Devils was second in perk that night. Crown was third in perk that night. And Blue Coats was fourth in perk that night. And if you didn't know, Cavaliers took the Sanford, winning all 3 nights. I think they scored a 19.9 or 19.8.
Jeez.
At
19.6. Sorry, they scored 19.6 in finals.
Okay, I was like 19.9.
Okay.
Now in semis, they scored a 19.8, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. In semis or somewhere. Dude. Yeah.
And so that meant like at semis they went on that early and was like, I'm pretty sure nobody else is gonna be better than this.
You guys are borderline perfect.
Dude, watching them after they won, watching them all celebrate, that was really cool to see. They were so hyped.
I mean, that's a big achievement.
That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Only 2 other corps have won the Sanford without medaling or without being in the top 5. So that's huge. That was huge, and you might, some people may, if those percussion fanatics out there may have looked at the perk scores from finals and like, these scores are kind of low. I don't blame her. She tried to leave some room just in case, but didn't need it.
No.
I mean, they won by 2/10. They had a 19.6. BD had a 19.4. So, I mean,
dude, that front ensemble, dude, for the Cavies, I mean, good night. I felt like, that was old school Cavies right there. Like it was awesome to see that. Vanguard wasn't there, so we needed someone to do it, and Cavies up to the plate. So it was awesome.
I'm gonna save most of this for a perk talk that we'll do, because me and Will, we gotta get to work. We got some front ensembles and stuff to watch. We got a lot of stuff we need to put out. But I will say this: you're starting to see a pattern, and I'm hoping these percussion designers are starting to take notice of this. But Cavaliers, total package, great battery riding, great front ensemble riding. Compared to what's going on, they take a Sanford. Last year, Blue Coats, great battery riding, great front ensemble riding, total package, takes home a Sanford. For the many, many years before that, whether it was Vanguard or whether it was Blue Devils, great battery, great front ensemble, total package. You gotta have both. And judges are starting to reward that. It sucks. I know it sucks, but I think people are still writing as if the percussion judges are on the field. And all these batteries all these fronts got to hide because the percussion judges are out running around on the field.
Mm-hmm.
I saw some people complain about that on, I'll call it Twitter because it's Twitter, but we're talking about that, how they hate that they're stuck on the front sideline, and like in my head I'm like, no, that's a good thing. Oh, that's a good thing.
For who? The front
Or
ensemble?
either, well, like saying more to the sideline, like trying to make sure they're balancing that out, you know.
Right, they don't want them on the field. Like
stuck
judges
on the-
can't just be on the field anymore.
Yeah, they got.
Are you talking about? Oh, you talking about the judges? I was like,
yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant the. Okay.
Because I mean that
No,
helps.
don't nobody hate that. Listen, okay.
There are some people.
There's a few people that hate it.
No, there's people don't seem to understand. It is the most dumbest thing to put the judges on the field. I hated it. Like I despise you because there's a lot of times when we talk about peaking when during a performance. Sometimes I don't want to say you literally black out, but when you're in a state of just hardcore 100% performance, you're trained. You know where to go. You're not looking at the ground. You're not doing anything. All you're doing is emoting performance. But here come a judge in your spot. Now I've hit a judge before. I've done a lot of stuff and gotten in the way. So that stuff irks my nerves. So when they took that out, it was probably one of the best things that has ever happened. So, but I know there are some members who do get a little, it's funny to them, oh, I knocked over a judge and blah, 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 this or whatever. And okay, all of that. But in the scheme of things, don't nobody want to see you in your green tight corduroy khaki pants with your tight green shirt that is probably holy, whatever, on the field in the way of everything. Don't nobody want to see all that, man.
And Dex did.
It's bad enough they on the front sideline. I'm sorry. Not sorry.
You don't get your clipboard out of here.
With your clickety clipboard screaming in my ear while I'm trying to do a 8-stroke roll. Man, this is
shit. Who booked doing an 8-stroke roll?
Right? That's what I'm thinking. What is going on?
Oh man.
I wasn't putting Patterson in nobody, but
that's been Williams' corner.
Somebody tried that. But yeah,
that ain't no excuse. If you can't hear it, get off the field.
Well,
you don't need to be judging.
But people,
I won't hear it.
I don't think it's judges complaining. I think it's people complaining that the judges can't get a good enough read on the battery with some of the stuff. And it's,
hell.
You might not. If I say you might not want them that close.
You're gonna hear dirt. What you gonna hear?
You're gonna hear a lot of fuzz.
A whole lot of dirt.
Especially the way these books are getting written now.
Because these little kids really be thinking that this stuff is 100% clean. No, it's not. Do you understand how tuning works? Do you understand how the guts work underneath the drum? How the tighten of the top head works? All of this kind of stuff. You know how each lug nut gets tuned? Do we understand all of that stuff? There's no drum line out there. Right? There's no drum line that is 100% clean, bro. Nobody. I don't care I don't care what you think. It's just human ears can only do so much.
But my phone says it's in tune.
Yeah.
I hate y'all.
You can also get a stud finder app on your phone.
How the hell does that work?
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Like, wait a minute. Hey, hold on.
It's supposed to recognize the metal of the inside of your phone somehow through the camera or whatever. Recognizes the metal, maybe nails or screws or whatever from the studs through the drywall.
Girl, bye.
Basically a magnet.
Do you have an X-ray machine on your camera? Is that what's going on? Grab a kitchen magnet and put it on the wall. That's what me and Nicole did.
Well, with these phones nowadays, who knows? I don't know.
Lord.
Good magnets.
So, when it all washed out, like we said, BD took first, 98,975. Blue Coat second, 97.738. Crown 97.663. So very slim margin, like 0.75, excuse me. And then Boston fourth, 96.925. I agree with the results. Honestly, I would have been fine if Crown had flip flop with Blue Coats. I would have understood. And I feel like everybody else finished where they should have finished. I wouldn't have been mad if Mandarins and Cadets had flipped, even though Cadets had a hell of a run.
Yep.
They had a hell of a run. So no, it was a good night for Drum Corps. It was a really, really good night for Drum Corps.
I want to shout out real quick because I thought this was really cool. The Blue Knights. I don't know. I've just never noticed that they did this, but their bass drum switched to a green bass drum.
Where
they have those? Do what?
I looked for that the whole time because
Oh,
they're
like-
set
it's
up on
like-
the side of the front ensemble.
Is that to the front? They move the monoliths more towards the center.
They're like in a
side
circle, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they pick up those bass drums that have that distorter in it where you like blow like
Yeah.
dude, that I had never seen that. And I that was one of the coolest things I saw as far as like getting a different kind of vibe out there and sound. It was just so cool how they thought of that. And I never noticed it. And I noticed it last night, and that was really cool. That was one of my favorite moments that happened like very beginning of the finals.
I think that was kind of a spinoff on when they did the thing with the snare drum several years ago. It was really cool. I hadn't heard it before either. I was like, have they always been doing this?
See, I noticed that they picked up different drums, but I never knew why or what the purpose was. And then I think it was on Twitter or Instagram today. It was like a lot video or something of them playing those, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
Because I've seen them. I've seen it in
So
the
you
live,
never-
but I never knew when it
You
happened.
never
in the
really
show.
heard a difference on
No,
the
I don't
stream.
think Floor Martian did a really good job of picking that up, but live,
They didn't.
It really did something. Like live, it was really cool.
Cool.
Like the distortion that it made. I mean, it was like it's not like raindrop, like woo, 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 and like just like it's really cool. Like, oh, it was awesome.
Now,
That
25
was really cool.
Scholastic A groups will do it this year at WGI.
Yeah, we'll see it. We'll see it at WGI. So,
But yeah, so I don't know, lots of really, really cool things. DCI's in good shape. I will say the people, all the people,
Spill the tea.
complaining about either, I've seen a couple different things. First off,
DCI Twitter is toxic.
it's listen.
So bad. Like, just enjoy it. Like, I will rag on some groups. I will whatever. But I'm still going to sit there and enjoy the hell out of it when I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
If Crossing would have made finals, hell yeah, go for it. I'd have watched. But, it's just like, how about you just let these kids perform this thing that they've been wanting to do their whole life and let them and just enjoy it.
What they hit them with this time.
Listen, there's a lot of it's the same stuff. It's the same. You got people on BD because they winning all the time. Whoop-de-whoop. You got people not liking blue coats because it's all hipster and trippy and they can't do that again. I was like, just red and hippie or it's like it's like fantasy. It's like it wasn't.
was it someone that I think someone quoted him that it's the hippie shtick?
Yeah.
It's like, what are you talking about? Just that's like people talking about uniforming and costuming and we met a guy and really, really cool dude, and like he said, and Chris, if I misquote him, let me know, but he was just like, you know what the difference between a uniform and a costume is? And we was like, no, what? Nothing. He said if you look up the definition of uniform or costume, they're basically the same thing.
But
Yeah, costume is like from the Latin. Is it Latin for clothes?
Latin for clothes.
Or something like that. Yeah.
But I had to sweat in my bibbers and wool coat, so everyone else should.
And that's the thing. I'm just like, so you want these kids out here in this Texas heat that's 175 degrees outside because we don't want to take care of the earth, still marching in wool uniforms.
Listen, everybody should play Bartok every year, okay?
I'm just like, and I just want to say to these people, okay, so let's just go all the way back then. Let's go to asymmetrical drill and let's go tick system. Let's see how long.
So we saw the old guard. We saw the old guard perform at Sound Sport and do what they did.
So
have five and drums out there.
I mean, so let's just go all the way. Let's just go all the way back. If we don't want any change or any evolution, let's just go back to what it was at the beginning.
I'm sorry, but I'm tired.
And the activity will be dead in 2 years, if not sooner. Things change, man.
I love traditional stuff. I love two of my favorite groups were cadets and Vanguard back when they're just all kinds of crazy stuff was going on drill wise. That don't mean you can't appreciate and enjoy what's happening today. Like you can't tell me that Blue Coat show. That Blue Coat show for me is probably in my top 10 of just how awesome it was, man. But you're not going to enjoy it because they're not doing traditional things. Come on.
Like when you dismiss the activity something over a piece of fabric, like those kids worked just as hard as you did when you were in Corps.
Or a synthesizer.
When you were in marching band. Like, did the same, they put on the same work.
I'd have killed for tights and shorts.
Boy,
right? You want to know how cool you would have felt? Hey, no, you can't convince me cadets weren't cool. I know they sweated, but come on now. Come on now. Y'all didn't have that hot-ass jacket on.
You know, some of these people that had the luxury of using 3 valves. That's an evolutionary change. Did you know how to play a bugle? Because if you didn't, you probably wasn't going to make the Corps. Like, things got to change.
And I wasn't mad that they got off G's. Because there's a lot of folks out here, I was like, I guarantee you're not even going to hold it up for 1 minute.
Corps sounds so much better now.
Mm-hmm.
They're not... you want to say they're not as powerful, fine. That I get that. I give you like you don't get that this raw edge. But the quality of sound that is coming out of these horn lines, the quality of teaching that's coming out of these horn lines, like, it's just like that's the thing you want to pick on.
I'm not saying me, but like if you are an alumni of an organization, you are now an ambassador, and you want the sport you need it to continue to evolve, or it is going to die, right? These kids are so talented that like it's just like the same we talk about, like you take like the 96 Bulls and put them back in like when like basketball first started. They dominate, right? They would dominate people. Like think about like how much is the activity has evolution and grown, and the talent has gotten even better. They have to keep writing the most difficult stuff they ever possibly can do.
Not to mention how much these kids are freaking paying.
Right? Yeah. And you want to get mad because they're not wearing traditional uniforms.
Get mad because you're not hearing Scheherazade at finals every year. I mean, come on, y'all.
Are they adding another skill by adding dance to their repertoire?
Yes.
These kids are coming out of drum corps nowadays more equipped with more educational knowledge than they can get anywhere else.
And guess what? And they're coming back to their high schools and all these other places, and they're teaching those kids the same stuff. And you've seen the evolution of BOA and all that too. Like,
the problem is a lot of people have too much selectiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want this to evolve, but I don't want this to evolve. That ain't how life in anything works.
This is
Listen,
art.
Everything evolves. Because I tell people all the time, I was like, if you don't like evolution, turn your phone in. Turn all your clothes in, get
Yeah,
naked right now, take everything off, get rid of your house, your
yeah.
home, your
Get off
No
clothes,
social
plumbing
all
for
media.
get rid
you.
of all of
Get
that.
off of social
Get
media
rid
complaining
get
about it.
off
Then.
social media, take your refrigerator, throw it out, burn everything you got because you don't like evolution. You don't want things to evolve. You don't want stuff to get better, right? You can't pick and choose what gets to evolve and what does not get to evolve. Every single thing that is a part of life and or electronics or what we call materialistic things, all of it's going to evolve. It has to. It literally has to. So people, man, that's why I just look at people sometimes and laugh. Oh, BDA Marshall. Okay,
And
okay.
that's on period.
I mean, ultimately, this is an art, and
Mm-hmm.
art changes. Like,
Because I understand. All things. Some things that evolve may not evolve best, but that's the point of everything is to figure it out. Okay,
mhm.
that didn't work. Maybe we should try something different in the way to evolve or become something different. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we tried something new, but it didn't quite work. So let's
And
try
it's
this something new.
everything
So
goes
that
in
that makes
cycles
sense. But
too.
come on,
Everything goes in cycles. There's gonna be stuff that's old school that's gonna come back around in 5 or 6 years. Hell, we may be back at traditional uniforms in 5 or 6 years. We don't
Yeah,
know. It's gonna take somebody to do it and do something different with it, and then everybody's gonna hop on the train.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? For all those old heads, what did cadets wear at retreat last night?
Yep.
They kept their
mm-hmm.
tradition because they
They
thought that
kept
was
their
important.
tradition because they thought it was important. You know, they
Like these
what?
corps ain't forgot. These corps all have
No,
history nights.
they
They
all
haven't
come
forgot where
out
they come from.
and they all come out with a with the shoot, what's it called? Like a an armed guard, so to speak. With the rifles on the end and the American flag in the middle. Every
Mm,
corps brought that out. That's an old school thing to me. You
mm,
Mm-hmm.
know, I just.
you
I
know,
mean,
Changes gotta happen.
Mm,
That's all I know. And it's the old. It's going to always go to the old saying: you either evolve or get left behind.
mm-hmm.
mm-hmm.
people talking about people's music choices. It's like I've found more music. I've learned more about like different artists and stuff listening to drum corps. Like when I first started, like Latin music was my thing that I indulged my brain in because of Madison Scouts. Like they got me into that, and then Phantom got me in to figure out who classical music was, and Vanguard with Philip Glass and with the Canyon, and then the Cavaliers doing all of this original music. I was like, oh wait a minute, we don't have you can make something up and it's successful. And Blue
Mm-hmm.
Devils with all of their jazz, like I learned what Channel One Suite was because of them. Like Crossman introduced me to Pat Metheny. Like these, and then of course all the stuff that Blue Coats is doing now with Bon Iver, and these are all of these groups are introducing kids and people to new music and all of this stuff, and like we got to, I don't know, like it's people. I just like I feel like some people just want to complain about something just to complain about it.
Yeah.
A great analogy. I'm a big Star Wars fan, right? And there's a lot of people in the community say the worst thing about Star Wars are the Star Wars fans because a lot of people want it the way they want it,
Mhm.
and they don't want it any other way, and it has to be their way. But the problem is there's millions of Star Wars fans, and if everyone thinks it that way, you're never going to get what you want, right? And I feel like there are. I'm not saying it's going to the same as much in DCI, but there are some people that they want DCI their way and their way only, but it's different than the person beside them, and it's different than the person in front of them. And it's just
But
it's all
here's
going
the
a general direction, and you just need to appreciate it for what it is. And it's music, and it's entertainment, and it's there to evoke emotion. I guess, if that emotion is you're pissed off at it, so be it. That's art, baby. That's how it goes,
And what's crazy though
Igor's
is
right.
yeah,
Stravinsky's right as spring.
listen, what's crazy is, to me, honestly, if you really think about it, for any kind of old head, if you want to consider them an old head or whatever, or anybody, let's say in general, anybody that's complaining, for every one person, you've got at least 2 to 3 new people coming up out of the woodwork, and you will be replaced.
I'll say 9 to 10,
at least. And I'm like, this is not a shot to get people to, not be fans anymore or anything, but it's like a realization. It's like, okay, have your opinion, okay, but don't try to take something backwards. Like, humanity is already trying to do that by itself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't bring that stuff here. You know what I'm saying? So if you think, don't be one of those, well, I'm canceling this, or like people on Facebook, well, I'm just going to unfriend you. Okay, well, bye.
See ya.
I don't know what to tell you because you're getting mad over something really ignorant right now.
Yep.
So.
On a lighter note, Said played the Inspiration from Blue Coat show on the way back today, and I literally looked at him and said, I cannot believe they came up with a whole show based on this thing that we just listened to. If you have not heard their opener there, that's kind of like the whole inspiration of the whole show is in there. Geniuses.
You can go to Spotify and just type in Blue 23, BLOO23, and the soundtrack for their show is on there, and you can listen to all of it. And for me, that's what made that show make a lot more sense. Like, when I realized what they were trying to do, I was like, oh, okay, this is what's going on.
It's good.
So, but no, listen, it was, like I keep saying, it was a fantastic year for drum corps. It really was. Like, just everybody was good. Everybody stepped up their game.
Yep.
If Vanguard comes back next year, they better come out swinging. They are not just going to walk back into the top 5 or 6. They're going to have to earn it. That's for sure.
Yes, they are.
That is for sure. So, like I said, we may have some further discussions about some things on our next episode. Y'all want to do superlatives next week?
Superlatives?
Yeah.
I'm down with that. Yeah.
All right.
Hey, do you want to go real quick? I know we're over an hour, but you want to go over our results from our predictions?
Yeah, man, you got those. I'll let you do it.
Let's do it. All right. So we were actually on with this before, and we had a good laugh about some of these. So the first one we're going to do is our top 12 predictions that we had. Will came in 4th with 5 incorrect placements. So what I did is, if like you had like someone wrong and they flip flop, they kind of just 2. Does that make sense? So Will had 5, Said and Zach had 4, and then yours truly had 3. So
that's why he wanted to go over.
Boo.
Yes, I did. But also you got to captions, overall captions. Will with the sweep got every single caption right.
Well, all you have to do is pick BD to win.
Hey.
No, I mean, he had cabbies. Yeah, cabbies and crown.
I didn't.
Percussion and brass. So that was fun. And then we were talking about our bowl predictions. We went back and looked at what we thought at the beginning of the season, what was going to happen. Sed's was BD was not going to medal.
They almost did.
That was the furthest from the truth there. Mine was Blue Coats weren't going to medal, and I was completely wrong about that one too. I apologize that came one of my favorite shows. Will's was Scouts were going to make finals. They came in 14th?
Scouts
14th?
16th.
So they came in 16th. And then my favorite that I laughed at, so good. Zach's bowl prediction was Blue Stars were going to be top 5.
Listen, I had faith, okay? And
they were
let me down.
So technically, I wasn't the furthest off.
You were not. I mean, you just said we're going to medal, so that'd be fourth. So, I mean, technically, I wasn't that far off either because I said Coates. So,
whatever.
But it's always fun looking back at what we thought. That's what they call bold, man. You got to put a spicy one out there.
Yeah.
Ain't no wrong being spicy about it.
Nothing wrong with it. So I guess next week we'll have some superlatives. We'll try to think of some fun ones. If you got any ideas of what you want us to do for superlative, put them in the comments below, and we will entertain those because we ain't got nothing else to do. And we may have a little bit further discussion about some other things that we saw, or maybe the future of DCI. Not that it's in like peril or anything, but like some big changes are happening. Like Dan Atchison just retired, and that was a beautiful tribute to him.
It was great.
Like that was a fantastic moment. So we may revisit that as well as it's like there's some things that happened this at finals while we were up there and things of that nature. So yeah, this is your chance to let some stuff be known. We may put a poll up, have a viewer's choice award, we may do some stuff, but just make sure you're interacting with us and letting us know what you think, and we can keep you guys involved. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also listen to us on Spotify. So we are on those things where you can find us and all of that good stuff. So, fellas, you guys got anything else to add to the discussion?
I'm sad that it's over.
I know.
Goes by quick, man.
Yeah, that extra week they had for preparation made the season really short, or seemed really short. But I think it paid off because groups came out more prepared, I think, this year than I've ever seen them. So we're already looking forward to seeing what some folks are going to be doing next year. Maybe Bluecoats will announce their show in like October this year.
Hey, you got to think about it this way. I think we got like 3 months to the first camp, so
yeah,
camp's
not too far away. So for Zach, Will, and Chris, my name is Cedric. This has been episode number 50.
Yeah, buddy.
Thank you guys for 50 episodes. That means a lot. That's pretty cool that we feel like we can still do this and still reach people. So thank you guys for hanging out with us, and hope you continue to do so. It was cool to meet some of you guys when we were up there.
Yep.
So please keep in touch, and we'll try to do the same. So from the fellas and me to you guys, thank you for watching episode number 50 of On the Back Cash, and take care of each other. Have a great week. We are
Out.
Out. Who dat?